On today's episode of Baking and Brewing with Bob and Dominique, we're making chicken enchiladas. It's one of my favorite dishes. Takes me close to home, and it's probably considered the Mexican soul food with all the layers and layers of cheese and chicken and the extra umami from the tomato sauce, which we will be making from scratch. First, we're going to boil the darker pieces of chicken. So after we have our chicken boiling, we're going to start preparing our corn tortillas. You can make these whenever you want and just keep them in your fridge for a couple days to maybe a week. We're going to start with 2 cups of corn meal. We're using this one today. We're going to do a half teaspoon of salt and a cup and a half of water. You're going to want to mix as you pour. I like to mix up the corn just so that way I make sure I get the right texture and consistency without having to go back and redo everything. So we have our tortilla press lined with some parchment paper, and then we're just going to take small little balls at a time and press them out. Here we go. So now it's time to start the sauce. I like to do a little bit of tomato puree and then some fresh tomatoes along with some fresh garlic, fresh onions, and today we're going to do a little chipotle. First the sauce. It's okay to put everything in there kind of chunky because we are going to use the immersion blender to eventually get it nice and silky smooth. So now that we've got everything into our saucepan, we're going to let that simmer for about 20 to 25 minutes. Meanwhile, that simmer, let's finish making our tortillas. We've got a nice hot pan here. Our broth is still simmering from the carcass of our chicken, so that way we use the whole chicken. When you're trying to meal prep, I highly suggest you plan ahead to make use of every single ingredient. I like to make my own chicken broth since I butcher my own chickens, and I recommend the Gordon Ramsay video on how to butcher a chicken. He does it fast, but it's clean, it's precise, and you can pause and rewind it. Let's get this stirred up. We'll also be adding in some of our chicken broth shortly, since that's been simmering for quite some time, into the enchilada sauce, and that helps give it the little extra fats that we need to make that sauce just a little bit more tasty, I guess. So now I'm going to pull out about a half cup to 3/4 cup of our chicken stock. And we're going to pour that into our enchilada sauce. So now that we have our sauce that's been simmering for about 25 minutes, we're going to use our immersion blender. What used to be liquid and pieces of garlic and onion and tomato is now going to thicken up by blending everything. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of our Mexican seasoning. A teaspoon and a half. And half teaspoon of cumin. And a teaspoon of salt. Time to assemble. Cheers. First, we're going to grab our tortillas. We added some broccoli into our chicken just to add extra protein. Kind of even it out since there really aren't any other veggies in this dish. Chopped it up, made it into small little bits so it cooks evenly. Couple pieces of raw onion, a little bit of cheese, roll it up, put it down. They might unravel, so just work quickly to get them really side by side. So the most critical part about this dish to make it nice and juicy is to make sure you drizzle the extra enchilada sauce. Because you know, every day I'm drizzling. Y ahora para la queso. So after all of that, throw them into the oven for about 35 minutes at 375. Look at this gorgeous pot of enchiladas. Let's serve them up and see how many we get.